شلام لخ مريم مليف طيبوثة نارا عماخ مريخات المشي وموريخ بيت خرسري شو ناط مريم يلدت آلها صلح لابين حطاهي هاشا وشاق الموثن آمين.
I am Archbishop of the Syrian Orthodox Church of Antioch, Nicolaos Matti Abd Alahad. I was born in Syria. I studied in Syria. I received my bachelor's degree in pastoral theology in my church. And in 1997, I was abbot of our school of theology in Syria until 2004. In 2004, I was named Patriarchal Vicar in Argentina. I was ordained in 2005. The 17th of April, I was ordained as Archbishop, Patriarchal Vicar in Argentina until 2014. When more problems began and the war started, the situation worsened and we had a lot more refugees, so I was named Patriarchal Vicar in Madrid, Spain.
En España, Madrid.
Look, it's a little difficult to speak about the faith life if we don't know how the people were living before. I'm not just speaking about 5 years ago, but about 100 years ago or more. Why? Because living with non-Christians, especially since we have a mosaic of Muslims, Kurdish, Yazidi, Mandai, and many more, one must know how to live with these people. I'm not going to say more than this, just that 100 years ago, when the genocide against Christians began, the genocide against the Armenians is well known. But Syria, the Syrian church, lost as many people as the Armenians, and all this was done by the Kurds and the Turkish Empire, the Ottomans, before it was officially Turkey. The people were able to continue their lives with the faith that they possessed. We can say that the people were always united in the faith, and when they prayed to the Blessed Virgin or other saints, God and the saints and the Blessed Virgin also heard them. Living in this way, they were able to live in peace with others, even non-Christians. In Syria, and even in Iraq, Christians reached very high levels within the state as ministers, ambassadors, mayors, and there were also many professors, small businesses, and they were very well off. They had the right to celebrate their Christian life as they wanted, until the Islamic State of DAESH was born. Whenever a kingdom experiences a betrayal, that kingdom suffers loss. What's happening, or what has happened, first in Iraq, because it began in Iraq in Mosul, unfortunately, we lost a very famous city, a very ancient Christian civilization. and afterwards it spread to Syria. Fanatic radical Islamists rose up, part of the group, which is now known as DAESH. But to understand why this group rose up, we must know that DAESH came from Al-Nusra. And Al-Nusra came from Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda come from Taliban. Taliban come from the Salafists. The Salafists came from the Wahhabists. It's a chain. And what they teach, what they promote, it's not a known because they're living it. These are the laws of Saudi Arabia. If someone steals, they cut off his hand. If someone doesn't follow the law, sometimes they behead him. This happens there. You can search for it on YouTube. It's an honor for them to put it there and to stone a woman who there's no mercy. They say that the work of God is their work. Why? They are helping God. Since God can't help himself, he can't do anything. He is a very weak God. According to them, he can't defend himself. So they kill people in his name to make them convert to their religion. So many Muslims, when they saw what was happening, didn't want anything to do with Islam, if this is what Islam is. Not only Christians, but since we're a minority, yes, we are being directly persecuted. How do they know when they enter? They enter a city, and how do they know if someone is Christian or if he's not Christian? How do they find them? With their documents from their names. When they recognize their names, a Christian name is easily recognized. It's a Christian name. A non-Christian wouldn't have a name like that. They entered various towns in Mesopotamia, the province of Homs, and other provinces, and they kidnapped Christians who were like slaves in their hands. The church had to pay to save them. And we're talking about millions of dollars. We aren't talking about a normal amount of money, because they use it to sustain themselves, to buy their weapons and everything. In one town called Al-Qatairan, they said to the Christians when they entered, you have 2 or 3 options. If you want to stay and live with us, you have to pay a tax, but you must pay with gold, not bills. And you cannot celebrate Mass or have crosses or live like you did before. If not, you must leave without anything, with the clothes you have on and nothing else. Leave everything. Or, if you want to stay, you must change your religion. If not, you will die. Some left, some died, and there are many Christians who, until today, are suffering by the hands of ISIS. They're killing, beheading. The easiest for them is decapitation. There was a family a married couple and their daughter, who was 12 or 13 years old, they didn't want to change their religion, so they beheaded the girl. Her mother, we found a photo of this on the internet, the mother was holding her daughter's body, and the father was holding her head. And later on, the parents were also killed. The life of Christians is in danger, and the church doesn't want the cradle of Christianity to be left empty. If we lose it, we lose our Christian roots.
Perdemos nuestras raíces como cristianos. Viven con mucha fe.
They live with a lot of faith. A lot of faith. They're not afraid. They're not afraid of death. For example, when the mothers say goodbye to their children every morning, when they go to school, it's the last goodbye, because they don't know if a bomb will be dropped on them or if the children will find the house still standing when they return. Both are possibilities. So they live today with lots of faith. There's no fear. They can't, as they all say, they can kill the body, but they can't do anything more than that. We know that our spirits are in the hands of our Lord. They live with lots of faith and very united. There aren't Orthodox, Catholics, Protestants, no. They live like the first Christians did in the beginning. In agape, in unity, in harmony, and they say that this is the only thing that unites them. They cannot be far from each other, each one in a different place. No, they want to continue their lives with this faith, without fear of what's happening, even when they're dying every day. I hope that we might have the faith that they have. It's very difficult. There isn't one home that hasn't lost someone, be it Christian, Muslim, or whatever. I lost 2 cousins in Syria, and one of my nephews, the most recent, 1 year ago, a young engineer who was 23 years old, who died from a car bomb. He died returning from the university. The truth is, it was difficult. It was difficult for all of us, especially for my sister. She couldn't believe it. Also for his classmates and all those who knew him. It was very painful, a very great loss. But we have faith, and we know that he is in the triumphant church in heaven. We are not like those, as St. Paul says, who do not have faith and hope. We have faith, we have hope, and we know that we are also on this path. But the way in which they die is painful. That's how it is. There are kidnappings, and we are going to say this so that the world knows. We have 2 bishops who, until today, on April 21st, will be 3 years since they've been kidnapped, and no one knows where they are. There are priests who have been martyred, and for us, all those who die in this way as Christians, they're confessors of faith. They've been tortured, but not killed. Obviously, they're going to die later, but at the moment, they are tortured for their faith. We have lots of confessors. Another well-known example is from a town called Malula. It's well known and the people speak Arabic. Christians and Muslims live together. But when everything started, neighbors turned against their own neighbors, their Christian neighbors. The Christians thought it was a joke. They thought it wasn't true. You have to deny your faith. How am I going to deny my faith? The man responded. There were three young men there who said, how can we deny our faith? We were born as Christians and we will die as Christians. He said, oh yeah? And they beheaded him. And who saw this? The sister of one of them. She was hiding. And then they killed others, their very own neighbors. And how did they kill them? No one knows. How their opinions change. They were living together for so many years, and all of a sudden, just depending on whether they were Christian or not, and there was a bombing in another city, Kamashli, the day before New Year's the 30th. Everything was fine. Then they placed 2 bombs in 2 restaurants as a gift for New Year's. There were 15 young people who died. I spoke personally to a priest who said the bomb was about 50 feet from my house. He said, I could never forget what happened. All the blood, the pieces of flesh. And he said, no, you wouldn't believe it. And I spoke with him personally. And why did this happen? Because it was a Christian neighborhood. That's all.
Somos un barrio cristiano, nada más. Mira, hay intereses.
Look, there are interests. Maybe before this wasn't known because there was a lack of means of communication. They didn't have all the technology that we have now. But now everything is out in the open. For example, the United States, they themselves are saying that they created ISIS and DAESH, and that they did it to gain petroleum. In addition to all this, more things are coming out on WikiLeaks every day. And they say they tell the truth and that they can't deny it when these things come out. There is interest in gaining the energy of the world. First, petroleum, for example, uranium, whatever there is. And now they've found gas in the Mediterranean, in Syria. This is the first part. Secondly, you have weapons. The weapon companies live off this. So there must be war. This isn't something new for everyone. Because if there's peace, what are all the weapon companies of the world going to do? They would have to close. So they have to make weapons. So, for example, Saudi Arabia, which wants to govern the Arabic world, doesn't have anything. It doesn't have a conscience or a reason, nothing. It only has petroleum. 50 years ago, Arabia didn't have anything. There weren't even 4 brick houses. Everyone lived in tents, and they traveled with camels, and now they have petroleum, and they want to govern the Arabic world. Saudi wants democracy and freedom for Syrians. For the moment, women in Saudi can't drive cars, and the Syrian women can't be captains of a 777 airplane. What do they want? What democracy do they want? Women can't leave their homes without being covered. Women don't have rights. They're nothing more than a servant in their house. Yesterday, an Arabic prince of, I don't know, they're all princes, married 4 women all at once. Not one after the other, no, but 2 on one side and 2 on the other at the same time. And these people want to be in charge. They don't have a problem killing people. They don't have a problem with sacrificing millions of people for their own gain. It's like a game. I think there's a book by Dan Brown called Deception or Vengeance or something like that, that talks about a virus that can kill the world so that others can live better. As the multitude of people increases, they start to think that there won't be any food left, that there won't be any energy left, and so on. And so they think we can kill people, and the more that die, the better off we will be. Many people have had this same idea. They say that after the First and Second World Wars, in which more than 60 million people died, I don't know how many exactly, life began to be better. And in 40 years, the world's population doubled. The earth can't take it anymore. So we have to kill. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of suffering in economic things. There's a very extreme crisis in Syria. Because, like 30 eggs, it costs like 1,000 pounds. Other things too, meat, it's like 4,500, I don't know. It's really expensive. And you can't, it's hard to believe that. So it's like, a family of 3 people, they need like 5,000 pounds to live. That's a lot for them. But, where ISIS doesn't exist, they live well. They live well. Until now, they live well.
Viven bien, hasta el día de hoy viven.
The solution is impossible. Impossible. Maybe it could happen someday, but how? We have an example, Iraq. In 2003, an attack on Iraq began because it was said that they had atomic bombs, and until today, we are hearing from Americans that there were no atomic bombs in Iraq, but that they wanted Iraq for what it possessed. Every day, for 13 years,
Todos los días están llorando sangre.
Iraq
Todos los
is
días.
crying out for
Desde
blood.
el 2003 hasta el día de hoy.
Every day,
Bombardeos en
from
todos
2003
los
until today,
lugares. Ahora
bombings in all the cities,
que perdemos,
and now that ISIS has begun, we've lost Nineveh, Mosul, thousands of Christian families. We've lost
perdimos
churches,
todas nuestras
monasteries.
iglesias, monasterios,
All the crosses have been
rompieron las
destroyed.
cruces hasta las tumbas,
They didn't
no-
even leave
no
the
dejaron,
crosses on the
rompieron
tombs.
todo.
They
La
destroyed them
catedral
all.
más grande
The biggest
cambiaron a
cathedral was
una
made into a
mezquita.
mosque.
Eh,
Recently, two monasteries of
últimamente,
nuns
hace poco,
were
bombardearon
bombarded close to
alrededor de
Mosul.
Mosul,
They were also made into
monasterios
mosques.
también lo bombardearon.
And in Syria, it's the
también
same. We lost thousands of churches, thousands of churches, cathedrals, chapels, cemeteries. We lost many religious lands, and wherever ISIS goes, they destroy the cross. They're afraid of the cross. They can't look at the cross. But they can crucify people. See, yes, they can crucify, but looking at the cross, how we've placed it in churches, no, they don't want to see it. They can't look at it. But yes, they can crucify people, which is a shameful act. The truth is that this situation is very, very serious for all Christians. As a church, we're helping a lot. We want to help in many ways. First of all, spiritual help, so that their faith increases, even though we are learning from them. Secondly, they live in countries where they don't know the language, it's a different culture, they suffer until they get used to this. They don't have the things that they had before. Someone who used to live in a house that was like 150 square meters, now they're living in a house that's 80 square meters or smaller, or they might live in a room, like a 50 square meter room with their family. Imagine how much they're suffering. Some of the refugees who live here were healthy before they arrived, but when they left their cities and they arrived here, they caught many illnesses. In order to help these people, everyone is lending a hand. But the help that would be most useful, and I want the world leaders to hear this, would be to stop cultivating war, stop assisting ISIS, DAESH, stop supporting Saudi Arabia, which is helping the fanatic and radical Muslims. They must stop. Recently, it's been called genocide. They must open their eyes. They must realize that it isn't just about deciding which papers to sign, and that's it. They must make decisions which correspond to the situation, because if we continue like this, dreaming and dreaming and dreaming, we aren't going to accomplish anything. It's like a mirage in the desert. We will never accomplish anything. Every time we say that peace has arrived, there is no peace. We have to seek peace within ourselves. in what they're going through there as Christians, even though there's war, even though they don't find exterior peace, they have interior peace because they live one day at a time and they say, we live in peace and we have faith and God knows. The spirit is what matters, not the body.
El cuerpo no es nada sino el espíritu. El que no
Who does not suffer can't understand.
puede entender.
Man is selfish.
El ser humano es egoísta.
He says, as long as I am okay,
Soy yo,
my neighbor doesn't matter to me.
mi vecino.
We must live
Tenemos
true
que
Christian
vivir
lives.
La vida cristiana verdadera. Basta
I've had enough
de
of
decir
hearing
que
people
soy
say that I'm Orthodox
católico,
or Catholic or
protestante.
Protestant.
Dividimos
We divide
el cuerpo
the
de nuestro
body
Señor Jesucristo.
of our Lord Jesus
Nos
Christ.
enseñó San Pablo y dijo, cuida,
St. Paul taught us,
el
be
Cristo
careful.
nunca dividió.
Christ never divided.
Y escuché
And
entre ustedes, algunos dicen que
I
soy para
heard
Pablo,
among
para
you
Apolo, para Pedro.
that some say I belong to Paul or I belong to Peter, but Christ
Entonces,
is one.
tenemos que ver la
So we
vida
must understand what
verdadera.
true life is.
Tenemos que saber
We must know how to
cómo
live.
podemos vivir. La
The deception and revenge
venganza del
of the
mundo
world will never
no
end.
termina nunca.
It will never
No
end.
termina nunca.
The world
El mundo
is
está,
sitting
está en
on
casi
top of a
sobre
volcano
un volcán
that
muy,
can erupt
en
at any
cualquier
moment.
momento puede explotar.
The devil
El diablo
is calm.
ya está tranquilo.
He's calm
Está tranquilo
because he is directing the world. That's why we must listen to the words of our Lord.
cuando
When I return,
volverá,
will I find faith on earth? Because we must be
porque nosotros
true
tenemos que ser
Christians, not
cristianos verdaderos,
only in what we say,
no solo
in what we speak,
de nuestra boca,
but with our works.
dicho, sino
We have to show this to the world.
en nuestra obra. Tenemos que mostrarlo al mundo. No es
Many
muchas
times,
veces un
a refugee
refugiado, un
or an
inmigrante,
immigrant,
un migrante
many times he doesn't
no
want
quiere-
food,
muchas veces no quiere
or
comida.
that we think
No
of him
quiere que
as a
miramos
poor
a él
person.
como un pobre.
Many times
Muchas veces
he wants
quiere
compassion,
un cariño, un
genuine
amor
love,
verdadero,
true
amor
Christian
cristiano.
love.
Entonces,
it's not about
nosotros
giving
no,
them
porque estamos
things,
alimentando,
giving them
estamos
food
dándole
and all
tal y
that.
tal y tal. No es esto.
We must seek
El-
our Lord,
tenemos que buscar
not only
dónde
in books
encuentra nuestro Señor.
or in the church or
No
in
solo en los
monasteries.
libros, no
We
en
must
la
search for
iglesia, ni
him
los
in our
monasterios,
hearts.
sino tenemos que buscarlo a nuestros corazones.
Are our hearts prepared
A nuestros
to receive
corazones
him?
están listos para recibirle.
When we're prepared to receive him, we
Cuando
must
están listos para
open
recibirle, tenemos
ourselves.
que abrir. Cuando
When we're
abrimos,
open,
Él
he enters and
entra
dines with
y
us,
cena con nosotros.
and there we will
Y
have
ahí
peace.
tendremos la paz. Los europeos
Europeans
o
and
el
the
occidente en
West in general
no viven
do
la
not
paz,
live in
aunque
peace, even though they say that they live in peace.
son
We are slaves of time.
esclavos del tiempo.
We can never
Nunca
find peace.
podemos
When we
encontrar la
say
paz.
we
En
are
el
in
momento
peace,
que decimos
it's
que estamos
true
en
that we
paz,
have
sí, en paz
exterior peace,
exterior,
but
pero
we
no
don't
tenemos
ever
una
find
paz
interior
interior,
peace
porque
because we are always thinking,
cada momento
what am I
pensando
going to do later
qué
on?
vamos a hacer en el otro día,
This makes us lose our peace.
perdimos nuestro paz.
We must be true messengers
Que ser
of the
mensajeros
word
verdaderos
of our Lord.
de la palabra de nuestro Señor.